Crown Prince+System+Cao thief. Li Su traveled to a high martial arts world and had a check.in system at the beginning. Signed in for 18 years, he appears to be the Crown Prince of Zhenbei, and his father owns 300,000 Zhenbei troops. Behind the scenes, there is still the underground emperor of the Qian, the leader of the power gang, having super thugs from ancient Blue Star. Until one day, Emperor Daqian summoned Li Su into the Imperial city to marry Princess Daqian. Princess Daqian. As long as you marry me, you can inherit the title of Prince of Zhenbei. Demon Fairy. Your Highness, am I beautiful? Righteous Saint. For the sake of the world, I am willing to feed demons with my body. Chapter 1. Do you want a wife? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Sewer, do you want a wife or not? In the prince's mansion in Zhenbei, a middle-aged man wearing a royal robe asked. His name is Li Jianan, and he is the Prince of Zhenbei of the Daqian dynasty, responsible for guarding northern Xinjiang for the Daqian dynasty. At the same time, he is also Li Su's father. Don't. After listening to his father's words, Li Su shook his head without hesitation. Cough. Aren't you usually the most interested in beautiful women or something? You have reached your age now, it's time to start a family and career. As a father, there happens to be a good match here. As long as you marry her, as a father, you will feel at ease. After being a father for 100 years, you can also safely inherit the Zhenbei throne, as your father Li Jianan was choked by his own son without hesitation, but unfortunately, he had no way to deal with his own son. My own son has been exceptionally intelligent since childhood and can create some strange things. These things can also bring considerable profits to their Zhenbei prince's mansion. Not doing a proper job is a bit of a dereliction of duty, but he likes it. The only drawback is probably that it is somewhat unconstrained. I love beauties, but I never said I want to get married. I can still distinguish between a tree and a forest. If we really get married, there is no freedom left. Father, the good match you mentioned is probably not a simple person, is it? Li Su replied with a gaze that had already seen through everything. He is a traveler. Unlike most travelers, he belongs to the type of reincarnation. I just don't know why my previous life was on a blue star, but this life is in such a strange world. At first, Li Su thought it was just an ordinary ancient world. Until one day I saw someone enter the palace to assassinate me, and I was cut in half by a woman in the palace who swung a sword energy. At that time, he realized that the world was not as simple as he seemed. Fortunately, from the day of my birth, I have already awakened the system. The other functions of the system are currently unknown, and it is possible to sign in and draw prizes daily. Most of the items obtained during regular check.in are ordinary items. The rewards for drawing once a month are much better, mostly related to cultivation. The reward drawn once a year belongs to advanced items. Stinky Kid. You're right, it's not a simple character. This person is the little princess of your Majesty today. This is a marriage personally bestowed by His Majesty, and even as a father, it cannot be shirked. Tomorrow, the people of the Imperial city will come to the mansion upon being recognized by his own son. Li Jianan revealed the truth. Hiss. Upon hearing this, Li Su felt a little uneasy and inexplicably got married. He didn't even know what the other person looked like. But in retrospect, it shouldn't be too ugly either. I vaguely remember that I once went to the Imperial city with my father. At that time, he was not very old and had been held by the queen. At that time, the queen was still very young and beautiful, and Li Su made a babbling sound. There's no way. The soul inherits the memories of past lives, but the body cannot keep up. With the queen's genes, this little princess should also look good, right? I have inquired with my father and it is said that this little princess is very cute. Li Jianan patted his son's shoulder and comforted him. Cute is not worth mentioning in front of sexiness. Li Su rolled his eyes and couldn't help roast. Do you want this wife? Li Jianan looked at his son and asked. He is also very helpless, just such a son. If he could not marry a princess, he naturally wouldn't want to either. Bringing one's own son to the imperial city for marriage is like being a proton, isn't it? He has been sitting in northern Xinjiang for these years, and the battles he has fought are already a bit hard for him to remember. It is precisely because of his existence that northern Xinjiang was able to stabilize. This is undoubtedly a good thing for the entire Qian. But over time, your Majesty is also inevitably on guard against him. He is so capable of playing, and his reputation is getting higher and higher. Yes. Of course I do. In order to protect my father from His Majesty's suspicion, as a son, I can only sacrifice my own appearance. Li Su deliberately acted mischievously, putting on a posture of, who goes into hell if I don't. The two father and son have been together for 18 years, and they have become so familiar that they can no longer speak naturally. I heard that the imperial city is most suitable for listening to music in Gulan, and the women there are the most moist. There are not many people willing to come to places like this bitter cold land in northern Xinjiang. Moreover, he had already been arranged in the Central Plains. Among the rewards for daily check.in. Not only dead objects, but also animals and even humans. Good son. This time going to the imperial city, I will arrange 1,000 cavalry for you as my father. My people from the Li family must not be bullied. Li Jianan patted his own son's shoulder and immediately waved his hand, saying. If his own son is unwilling to marry the little princess, then he can only ruthlessly refuse Emperor Qian. However, at that time, the situation will definitely be unfavorable for the prince's mansion in Zhenbei. Forget about 1,000 cavalry, send Sister Yueru to protect me. Li Su was not interested in 1,000 cavalry, but made other demands. Times have changed. In such a world with martial arts practitioners, even heavy cavalry must kneel. The moon sister in Li Su's mouth is a martial arts practitioner. My cultivation has reached the level of a martial arts master. He is the youngest among the Zhenbei army to break through to become a martial arts master, except for the Zhenbei king Li Jianan. Lu Yueru. She is the daughter of an old friend. In terms of seniority, she is your sister. Li Jianan is still very familiar with his son's character. Because of understanding, I hesitated. Because it's my sister, that's why I have to work harder to protect myself, right? Li Shuli answered straightforwardly and confidently. He originally intended to say it was more exciting, but after thinking about it, he decided not to cause trouble. Okay then. As a father, I'll tell Yueru about this matter later. I'm sure she's willing to protect you. You don't have to worry too much when you go to the imperial city. When you arrive at the imperial city, the people of the Qian royal family not only do not threaten your life. On the contrary, it will also protect you. Labor and capital are your only son. If the imperial family of Qian dares to make labor and capital stand out, labor and capital will dare to march on the Central Plains. Li Jianan naturally chose his own son among his sons and daughters of old friends. As he said, he is just such a son. How about calling you Dad? You're so domineering. There's nothing else, I'll leave first. I'm about to leave now, I can't bear to part with it. Li Su gave his father a thumbs up, then turned around and left. That's not right. I'm your father, because your mother gave birth to you in October, you stinky kid. Praised by his own son, Li Jianan was about to boast about himself when he quickly realized something was wrong. But when he wanted to find Li Su, he had already disappeared into the room. Walking out of his father's room, Li Su's first sight was a pair of long legs. Chapter 2. He is only 18 years old and likes to see what's wrong with his legs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The owner of these legs is very familiar to him. Moon-like sister. With a difficult gaze, Li Su left his long legs and called out to the incoming person. The person who came is Lu Yueru, the daughter of his father's old friend. She had the face of an imperial sister and was wearing the armor of the Northern Army, giving off a feeling of heroism and heroism. However, in Li Su's view, the first idea was to subdue temptation. Unfortunately, I didn't wear black silk, otherwise it would probably be even more tempting. Did you cause trouble again? Faced with Li Su's gaze, Lu Yu asked calmly as if she had become accustomed to it. He's only 18 years old and likes to see what's wrong with his legs. No. Sister Yueru, how could you think of me like that? Everyone in the entire royal city knows that I am the most obedient child of Father Wang. Li Shuli quickly denied it. His reputation among the people is not very good, and among them, he feels that his father's reason is the greatest. In the minds of the people, as the son of the king of Zhenbei, he should enter the army like the king of Zhenbei and resist foreign tribes at a young age. Instead of listening to music on the hook and enjoying a comfortable life. Regarding this, Li Su stated that he cannot apologize for his name. Li Jiuri. Moreover, after finally being reincarnated into the household of a prince and marquis, can't one still enjoy it? You are the only son of the king of Zhenbei. After listening to Li Su's answer, Lu Yueru only felt a little chest tightness. Sister Yueru, I won't delay you reporting things to your father. I'll go back first. Seeing the undulating appearance of Lu Yu's chest, Li Su really wanted to help him smooth it out, but after thinking about it, he decided not to die like this. This kid. Why did he leave so quickly today? I wish I couldn't even move my eyes. Is it because I have lost my charm? Or was it that little girl who hooked her soul away? Seeing the back of Li Su running away, Lu Yueru couldn't help but glance at her long legs. With a pair of proud beings, she can definitely say that she lowered her head without looking at her toes. Among the Northern Army, she is known as the female Shura. As a woman, I want to establish myself in the military. Strength and ruthlessness are essential. She never shows mercy to people of different races. For those who dare to challenge her status below, the same applies. When facing Li Su, he would show a big sister-like smile. I have something to report to the Prince of Zhenbei. Lu Yueru realized that her idea was not right and quickly threw it away, standing outside the room and calling out. Come on in. Your father and I are old friends, and I have always treated you like a niece. You don't need to be so separated. Quickly, the voice of the Prince of Zhenbei, Li Jianan, could be heard in the room. Etiquette cannot be abolished. Now that I am serving in the military, I should call myself the king of Zhenbei. As Lu Yueru walked into the room, she spoke up. All right. You came just in time, I have something to entrust to you here. Tomorrow Su'er will depart for the Imperial city, and His Majesty is preparing to marry his daughter to Su'er. You will be responsible for taking care of him when he goes to the Imperial city of Daqian. Su'er is naturally playful. Could you please take care of her? Upon hearing this, Li Jianan did not persuade him much, but instead talked about the main matter. I will take good care of His Highness the Crown Prince. Lu Yueru nodded without hesitation. With your words, I can rest assured. By the way, what do you mean to report something to me? Li Jianan nodded and asked why Lu Yueru came here to find him. There have been some more demonic disciples in the city recently, and it is currently unknown whether they have any ulterior motives. Lu Yueru replied. You don't have to worry about this matter. Pack up your things and follow Su'er to the Imperial city tomorrow. Li Jianan frowned and quickly stretched out, waving his hand and saying. Yes. Lu Yue nodded, then turned around and retreated. Your Highness. Did you come back so early today? Li Shugang had just stepped into the mansion when a girl with a beauty of around 90 minutes ran over. This girl is the maid of his mansion, named Su Qian. Li Su had a separate mansion, and the money for buying it was not from his father, but earned through his diligent hands. Ah. Checking in with the system every day can be considered diligent. Your Highness, do I usually come back late? How do I feel like you've gained weight again? Did you steal something from the kitchen? Li Su said that he naturally pinched Su Qianqian's face with his hands, feeling that the texture was quite good. No way. I eat very little, so I won't gain weight. Su Qianqian shook her head and answered with a firm expression. Although she was only considered a maid in this mansion, due to being highly favored by Li Su, other servants vaguely regarded her as Li Su's woman. In the future, if you are lucky, you may become Li Su's concubine. As for consort Zheng, no one thinks in that way. At the level of Zhenbei king, one still needs to pay attention to matching families. You're just being good. Seeing Su Qianqian obedient, Li Su couldn't help but pinch her face again. I'm already obedient, why do you still pinch my face? Su Qianqian did not dare to resist Li Su's actions, but looked at the other party with some resentment. This is a reward for your obedience. Li Su answered confidently. Can I not accept this reward? Su Qianqian spoke weakly and asked. Of course not. Li Su answered without hesitation. Then you pinch it. Su Qianqian made a look of death as if returning home, closed her eyes, and said. Her life was saved by His Highness, and she will not refuse his orders. Moreover, your Highness is very handsome, and she doesn't actually dislike it in her heart. All right. All right. People who don't know, they thought I was bullying you when they saw me. Let me tell you something, your Highness. I am leaving the royal city for a period of time. Do you choose to stay at the mansion or follow me? Just in advance, the place I'm going to this time is the Imperial city of Qian. When we get there, it's not my Li family's territory anymore. Li Su took off his wolf-skin jacket while speaking. The land of northern Xinjiang is bitter cold, and winter is even more snowy all year round. Warriors can use their internal power to keep warm, but since they have clothing to keep warm, there is clearly no need to abandon it. This coat is the result of Lu Yueru's killing of an innate realm wolf-like monster. After ordering someone to make it, give it to him. I naturally followed His Highness. Wherever His Highness went, Qianqian would go. Qianqian will always be His Highness's Qianqian. Su Qianqian skillfully took the coat that Li Su had taken off while answering. Are you not afraid of encountering danger when you go to the Imperial city? If my father doesn't like it, there are plenty of people around. Seeing Su Qianqian agreeing so quickly, Li Su couldn't help but feel a little surprised and instinctively turned to look at the little deer. The first meeting between the two was a very cliché plot. She sold herself on the street to bury her father, while Li Su happened to pass by. Adhering to the idea of doing good every day, Li Su buried his father for Su Qianqian. Then he brought Su Qianqian into his mansion. As for the original idea of doing good every day to support Miss Manhualu, it has been temporarily shelved. He Li Jiuri is a great kind-hearted person who likes to go to Manhualu to support his little sister who has no relatives. After the sponsorship, it's reasonable for the other party to want Bao to answer their own questions. Chapter 3. 1,000 Miles of Marriage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not afraid. As long as His Highness is present, everything can turn bad into good. Su Qianqian has full confidence in his own Highness. You are quite confident. Li Su shook his head and continued walking towards the inside. Upon seeing this, Su Qianqian instinctively followed suit. I'm going to take a shower, do you also want to go with me? Seeing Su Qianqian following, Li Su asked without looking back. Ah. Is that okay? No. What I mean is I'll go help His Highness put his coat aside now. Su Qianqian instinctively thought of a time when she saw the figure of her own prince, and couldn't help but blush a little. Quickly, he ran away in a panic. This coat is also an inner room. What are you doing running outside? Li Su couldn't help but shake his head and continued walking towards the inside. Su Qian is good everywhere, but this airport is a bit peaceful. After entering the inner room, 2 maids with appearances around 70 walked in. After the 2 maids came in, they helped Li Su take a bath. Li Su said he has become accustomed to this kind of life. When one can only babble, it is already the beginning. By now, it has become a habit. After washing, Li Su waved his hand to let the 2 maids leave. System. Turn on annual check.in. I'm already 18 years old, can't you give me some good gifts for coming of age? Li Su changed into a new outfit and called out softly to the system. He has done this kind of thing more than once in 18 years. Each time is a mechanized sound, without any additional response to oneself. Li Su didn't care about this either. If you don't give it a try to sign in for a certain year, you will be unable to help but think about things that are not good for signing in for the next period of time. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in for the year and obtaining the 1000-mile marriage frontline pull X1. I want a coming-of-age gift. Did you really give me a coming-of-age gift? Listening to the names of the items obtained from the annual check.in, Li Su couldn't help but feel a strange feeling. 1000 miles of marriage is tied together. Just by looking at the name, you can tell that this thing should be related to marriage. Good guy. During the day, his father asked himself if he wanted his wife, and at night the system played like this. Curiously thinking in his heart, Li Su couldn't help but take out the thousands of miles of marriage in the system space and examine its properties. 1000 miles of marriage. Using this item will randomly match a woman with a beauty score of 90 or above to the host, who will develop a favorable impression of the host. And, this item will continue to provide assistance to the host and the woman. The probability of the host coming together with the woman will be infinitely close to 100%. Is this just a red string, matching me with a woman with a beauty score of 90 or above? How do you feel that I still have some losses in signing in this year? Qian's appearance has reached 90. Go system. Next time, please open up some good things for me. 1000 miles of marriage, a line of ties, use. Li Su held a red rope called Qianli marriage line and complained, but his hand was very honest in using it. He only has one beautiful maid like Su Qian himself. That's still due to my identity as the Crown Prince of Zhenbei, no one dares to compete with me. Otherwise, there will definitely be many people who want to bury their father for Su Qian. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully using the 1000-mile marriage line. The mechanical sound of the system rang out, and the thread of 1000-mile marriage in Li Su's hand disappeared into his hand. Is this gone? Li Su looked at the disappearing thread of 1000-mile marriage in his hand and felt a sense of being scammed. Ding! When the host encounters a person who has 1000 miles of marriage, they will have an induction. The mechanical voice of the system replied. If you don't encounter it, there won't be any sense of connection. Can you show me what she looks like at least? Li Su raised a middle finger and answered. This time, the system is no longer moving. This night will be a difficult night for Li Su to fall asleep. The people from the Imperial city are tied to this unknown 1000-mile marriage. He is not the only one who also finds it difficult to fall asleep. The Qian Imperial City. Inside the palace. In a palace where a noble consort resides. Who? What exactly is going on? How could I suddenly dream of a man? I can't see his face clearly, I just feel like he's very strong. Is it because your Majesty has never favored me? The noble woman stood up from the bed, her face covered in sweat. She had a dream tonight, in which she saw herself returning to the grassland, her hometown. Everything is very beautiful. But as the screen turned, she returned to this cold palace. A man with an invisible face appeared in front of him. She felt that this man's chest was very warm. But the next moment, Emperor de Qian appeared and she was immediately startled to wake up. Before becoming a noble consort, she was a princess from the grassland and was sent to marry Emperor de Qian. According to her age, she should actually marry the prince. It's just that the great Qian dynasty of this generation was in a state of yin prosperity and yang decline. Emperor Qian only had 7 daughters and no son. Therefore, for this marriage, Emperor Qian stated that the princess had married herself. After being married into the palace, she was conferred the title of a noble consort and stayed in the palace all along. Except for some occasions where she is sometimes brought in to meet with outsiders, the emperor of the great Qian never sees her at any other time. Give her a feeling of not being close to women. The Qian Huang, who can give birth to 7 daughters, obviously cannot really be close to women. It's almost impossible to say that the other party is afraid of poisoning and stabbing themselves. Emperor Qian, who was able to obtain the throne from many princes in the past, would not be afraid of her as a weak woman. Thinking back to the fact that Emperor Qian had not given birth to a son or daughter in the past decade, the noble consort couldn't help but have a bold idea. Shaking her head, the noble consort quickly stopped thinking about these things. What does this have to do with a woman trapped in the deep palace? Feeling her body sticky, the noblewoman was ready to go and wash it before resting. Tomorrow, the little princess may come to find herself again. In the entire palace, only the little princess is more innocent and innocent. Unfortunately, I heard that I will soon marry the Prince of Zhenbei. Why did I suddenly dream of a slender beauty last night? Forget it. I don't think about it anymore. Today, I will go to the man Hua Lu to support the little sister and follow my dream to find her. The next morning, Li Su woke up and put on his clothes under the care of the maid. For women who dream at night, they quickly forget about it. What I dream of cannot be taken seriously. But suddenly a man appeared behind, almost startling himself. There is a feeling of being caught secretly driving a neighbor's car. Your Highness. It's an outsider from the mansion, it's the prince's person. I want you to go to the prince's mansion as soon as possible. It's said that someone has come from the imperial city of Daqian. Su Qianqian ran in with great enthusiasm and said to Li Su. Has someone arrived in the imperial city? Is it a man or a woman? Chapter 4. Eunuchs beside the Empress. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 5. Lao Deng. Explode some gold coins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Princely Jianan of Zhenbei also walked out and pointed to the eunuch, who introduced him to his son Li Su. Our family is called Zhang Lishir, and we have always followed the Empress. This time, the little princess married His Highness, and the Empress ordered our family to be responsible for escorting His Highness into the imperial city. Zhang Lishir showed a gentle smile on his face and nodded at Li Su. Name. Zhang Lishir, identity. Second chief eunuch of the great Qian dynasty, practice. The eternal life technique, martial arts. 9 Yin Claw, cultivation. 6th rank martial arts master favorability. 70, hello, Duke Zhang. At the first moment when Zhang Lishir spoke, Li Su checked the other person's personal panel. The panel is very simple, but it lists the most important items. The second eunuch in chief of the great Qian dynasty. Martial master 6th rank. Favorite rating 70. There is really a lot of information in here. Especially when the final favorability reached 70 points, which surprised Li Su the most. After all, in his impression, this was the first time the two had met. According to his years of research on systems, the initial liking level for the first meeting is usually around 50. 50 points can be considered a stranger's level. Then, according to factors such as reputation and others, the level of favorability will also vary. If your favorability reaches 0, you are considered a life or death enemy. A liking score of 60 indicates a certain level of liking, but not much. A liking rating of 70 can already be considered as belonging to the category of friends. Zhang Gonggang. You must be in charge of me. It was just a casual sparring, and the butler of the prince's mansion in Zhenbei actually beat me up like this. I represent the Qian, they don't give him face at all. Upon seeing Zhang Lishi's appearance, Shi Yongyi, who was originally pretending to be dead, immediately got up, like a bullied 200-pound child. There will naturally be victories and defeats in sparring, it can only be blamed on your inferior skills. Also, our family cannot represent the Qian, and you cannot represent the Qian even more. You're just yourself. We have also heard about what happened just now. Since you are so confident, you feel like you can beat the barbarians away with confidence. So you don't have to go back and stay in the Zhenbei army to serve. Our family is waiting for you to become the next prince of Zhenbei. Zhang Lishi looked at Shi Yongyi and said word by word. Zhang Gonggang, you can't do this. Upon hearing this, Shi Yongyi's face suddenly changed greatly. Allowing him to join the Zhenbei army would be pushing himself into the pit of fire, wouldn't it? I have already offended others, but now joining the Zhenbei army is still good. Maybe it will just evaporate from the human world. No. Our family can do this. Zhang Lishi still had the harmless smile on his face. The reason why the Empress entrusted him with the responsibility of escorting the Prince of Zhenbei was to hope that he could arrive at the Imperial city smoothly all the way. Isn't it slapping oneself in the face to make such a commotion without even leaving the North Prince city at the moment? I am a member of the Shi family, and our family has been a general in the Qian for generations. Seeing Zhang Lishi's smile, Shi Yongyi was completely flustered and quickly moved out his backstage. Yeah. The Shi family has been serving as generals in the Qian for so long, enjoying the grace of the emperor. Isn't it appropriate to resist external enemies now? Zhang Lishi murmured in his mouth. After speaking, without waiting for Shi Yongyi to say anything more, he simply waved his big hand to imprison the opponent's cultivation, and couldn't even make a sound. In this regard, he is professional. The palace is not a peaceful place for these eunuchs. You have to climb up step by step, and if you slow down, you will become a stepping stone for others. Qian. How do I feel like I've taken that villainous script? Having witnessed all of this, Li Su touched Su Qian's small hand and asked the other person about it. Ah. Your Highness is not a villain. Your Highness is a good person, a top-notch person. Su Qian didn't react at first, but then said seriously. In her mind, Your Highness is quite kind. I helped bury my father and gave her a home. I usually support the Little Sisters of Wanhua building, and when I have nothing to do, I go to educate them. Are you a good person? I'm not. Li Su couldn't help but shake his head when he was given a good person card. He really can't be counted. In this world of the jungle, he never thought of becoming a good person. A good person will not live long either. Zhang Gonggang, I don't know when to depart. Li Su's gaze turned to Zhang Lishi and he opened his mouth to inquire. The sooner, the better. The Empress really wants to see His Highness the Crown Prince. Zhang Lishi said with a smile on his face. What about Royal Highness Princess? Li Su deliberately asked. At the same time, I couldn't help but wonder. Does the Queen like herself so much? In my impression, both sides only met once. If the mother.in.law likes her son.in.law more and more, at least she must have met him first. I can't just rely on my side from over a decade ago to treat myself so well. That's just too much nonsense. Your Royal Highness Princess. If I saw Your Royal Highness the Prince, I would like it very much. Zhang Lishi hesitated for a few seconds before speaking. It is obvious that this princess does not have a favorable impression of Li Su. This is also very normal. Anyone who is suddenly arranged for a marriage, without knowing what their partner looks like or whether it is a marriage alliance, will not be too happy. Duke Zhang. This is my only son, and before leaving, I want to give some advice on some things. Once the instructions are completed, we can set off. At this moment, the Prince of Zhenbei, Li Jianan, could not help but speak up. Prince, please feel free. Zhang Lishe smiled and nodded, gesturing for the father and son to chat casually. Sewer. Come to the study with my father. After Li Jianan finished speaking, he walked towards the inside of the royal mansion. Li Su naturally followed suit when he saw the situation. Su Qian also instinctively followed over until she reached the outside of the study and finally stopped. In the study, only the father and son remained. Li Jianan sat down directly, speechless for a long time. For a moment, the atmosphere seemed a bit oppressive. Father. Give me any life-saving treasures as soon as possible. When I leave, you won't have time to give them. Seeing his father hesitating to speak, Li Su reached out and asked the other party to explode some gold coins. No. Seeing Li Su reaching out and asking for his life-saving treasure, Li Jianan shook his head in frustration. As the words fell, the previously oppressive atmosphere was swept away. Having been the king of Zhenbei for so many years, fighting against barbarians for so long, without any treasures. I don't believe it. Li Su pursed his lips, obviously not believing his father's words. But he wasn't really trying to make his father explode his equipment, he was just trying to break the oppressive atmosphere. Father asked you to come in, but there is actually something I want to tell you. This matter has been weighing on my mind for a long time. Now that you are going to the great Qian Imperial city, it's time to tell you, Li Jianan suddenly said with a serious expression on his face. Is it about the Empress? Chapter 6. Young people really know how to play. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Su spoke up and asked. How do you know? Li Jianan, who was originally sitting, stood up from his position and looked at his own son with some disbelief. He remembers that he seems to have never talked to the other party about the Empress. From the attitude of Grandpa Zhang. Under normal circumstances, his attitude towards me is not that good. I'm just going to marry a princess, not to inherit the throne. Li Su shrugged and answered. This matter is indeed related to the Empress, but she and I are innocent. From beginning to end, I have only had your mother as a woman. In this regard, you haven't taken it as your father at all. After listening to Li Su's explanation, Li Jianan sat down again. During the conversation, there was a hint of pride. But when he looked at Li Su, he was full of disgust. How could a father like Li Su not know what he did in Manhualu? I'm also here to continue the incense for my old Li family. Li Su replied. It's okay. It's okay. Whatever. My father had a good relationship with the Empress before, and when she arrived at the Imperial city, she probably would treat you as her own nephew. If you need any help, she will do her best to help you. Forget about the difficult things, you still have someone pass the message to my father and he will help you solve it. Upon hearing the words, continuation of incense, Li Jianan instantly fell silent. After the silence, he continued to talk about the Empress. What is the relationship between the queen and her father? Seeing his father say this, Li Su became even more interested. When you should know about this, you will naturally know. You can leave now. Li Jianan only felt that his son was particularly annoying, and the remaining reluctance disappeared completely. With a wave of his hand, Li Su was immediately carried out of the royal mansion by a force. Your Highness. Seeing Li Su, Su Qian appeared somewhat excited. But before she could get excited for a few seconds, she saw that Li Su was walking out of the Wang mansion without touching the ground. Trapped by power, Li Su is truly not touching the ground. Seeing this, Su Qian naturally quickly caught up. After staying outside the Lord's mansion, Li Su felt like he had regained his freedom. It seems that the prince is also eager to see the crown prince marry the little princess. Seeing Li Su's appearance, Zhang Lisher couldn't help but smile and say, "Yeah. Yeah." Li Su nodded with a twitch at the corner of his mouth. He planned to inquire with the eunuch on the way about his father and Empress. Or you can come to the Imperial city and inquire again. Anyway, knowing that the Empress and the eunuch have no ill feelings towards them is enough. Since everyone is here, why don't we set off? Your Highness, do you have any warhorses? If not, these warhorses can all be provided for your Highness's use. Zhang Lisher pointed to the hundreds of cavalry behind him and said. Wait a little longer. There's still someone who hasn't come. Li Su shook his head, as if searching for someone. His Highness the Crown Prince is looking for a female general, isn't he? Zhang Lisher thought for a moment and asked. How do you know? Li Su looked at Zhang Lisher with some curiosity and asked, when our family entered the city, we happened to encounter her. At this time, the female general should still be waiting outside the city for his Highness. Zhang Lisher pointed in one direction and replied. You won't admit it wrong, will you? Li Su asked with uncertainty. At a young age, reaching the level of a martial arts master may not be easy for our family, even if we want to admit our mistakes. Zhang Lisher replied with a smile. Since that's the case, then let's go. Li Su replied. At this time, the butler in the royal mansion also brought out 2 war horses. Your Highness. I cannot ride a horse. Looking at the warhorse pulled out, Su Qian felt a bit embarrassed and spoke weakly. She is not from a wealthy family background and has never ridden a warhorse before. If you don't know how to ride a horse, then just ride with me. In Li Su's eyes, Su Qian's question is not considered a problem. Thank you, Your Highness. Although Su Qian was still a bit shy, she did not refuse with any affectation. The butler led a horse, and Li Su first got on the warhorse himself. Then, he extended his palm and pulled Su Qian up as well. For the sake of Su Qian's safety, Su Qian naturally sat in front of Li Su. So, it was a posture of Li Su embracing Su Qian. Feeling the softness of Su Qian's body, Li Su felt a bit confused. He thinks he's not a good person. What was he doing to help Su Qian bury her father in the beginning? That natural greedy body. It's impossible to be truly helpful, right? Go to Manhualu, where the little sister will also help her enlighten. Your Highness, the Crown Prince. You can leave the city now, right? Looking at Li Su with a beautiful woman in his arms, Zhang Lisher remained silent for a few seconds and slowly spoke. Young people really know how to play. Back when I was young. Forget it. It's okay not to mention it. When I was young, I was sent to the palace because my family had no money. Fortunately, he met a noble person and his own cultivation talent was indeed good, which allowed him to stand out. Otherwise, I would have died countless times earlier. Let's go. Get out of the city. Li Su nodded at the words and rode his warhorse towards the outside of the city. With Li Su's movements, Zhang Lisher and even hundreds of cavalry followed suit. As for Shi Yongyi, he was left behind to build northern Xinjiang. What's wrong with the Crown Prince? Perhaps His Majesty can't bear to watch anymore and wants to take him away. What nonsense. I heard Uncle Qian, the neighbor of my cousin's nephew, say that His Majesty married his little princess to His Highness the Crown Prince. Sigh. Your Highness the Crown Prince is truly blessed. Even a princess can marry him. This is mainly the reward given by the powerful ability of our town North King. King Zhenbei, I was deeply in love. How could he have such a son like the Crown Prince? As Li Su was escorted out of the city by hundreds of cavalry, the people in the royal city couldn't help but discuss. Most of Li Su's evaluations are not high. Mainly, the father of Zhenbei Wang did a great job, making him a somewhat unreliable son. Li Su has always ignored these voices. His father only has such a son himself. What a bad thing if I bump into something. Father has fought a lifetime of war, shouldn't he enjoy it when he arrives? If at least I have something, who will inherit the vast foundation of the North Prince's mansion in this town. Soon, the group left the city. Outside the city, Lu Yueru was already waiting on a warhorse. Her warhorse is a fiery red warhorse, very spiritual. Your Highness, the Crown Prince. Seeing Li Su leaving the city, Lu Yueru was originally somewhat happy, but when she saw Su Qian being held by Li Su, the smile on her face suddenly disappeared. She didn't know why, she had heard some rumors about Li Su. But seeing it with my own eyes, I still feel a bit uncomfortable. As the half-sister of His Highness, I just don't want him to be addicted to beauty. That's right. That's it. Quickly, Lu Yueru found herself a reason to speak of the past. Sister Yueru. You've worked hard all the way. Chapter 7. Wealthy and Generous. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 8. Demon Cult Witch, she's a sister. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What is rich and generous? I can't understand why. Stinky kid. Without your father, your courage is getting stronger and stronger. Even joking about your Yueru sister. At first, Lu Yueru did not understand the meaning of Li Su's words. But when I felt Li Su's gaze, I immediately understood what the other person meant by being rich and generous. Sister Yueru. Aren't you going to teach Qian how to ride a warhorse? Let's start quickly. Seeing Lu Yueru react, Li Su quickly changed the topic and said. Let's start then. Feeling that everyone else was looking towards him, Lu Yueru didn't argue with Li Su anymore, just rolled her eyes at him. As a bystander, Su Qian witnessed the entire process of the two. After reading a pair of great truths by Lu Yueru and then looking at her own airport, she suddenly felt a bit autistic. But riding a horse still requires learning. So Su Qian went from Li Su's warhorse to Lu Yueru's warhorse. The team continues to rush on. It wasn't until evening that the team stopped and continued their journey. Your Highness, there is a city ahead. Do you want to spend the night in the city and continue on your journey until tomorrow morning? Alternatively, you can take a break on the road and eat some dry food before continuing on. Zhang Lisher walked up to Li Su and asked him a question. Which choice do you think is better? Li Su did not answer the question immediately, but instead asked Zhang Lisher in reverse. With the other party's 70-point favorability, there is still a certain level of credibility. After all, if there is any malicious intent, there will also be a decrease in favorability. Prompt sound. According to our family's wishes, why not eat some dry food and rush to the Imperial City day and night? Once we reach the Imperial City, we will be completely safe. The Empress also really wants to see you once. Zhang Lisher thought for a moment and finally said. Since that's the case, then don't linger in the city. Anyway, this city can't compare to the prosperity of the Imperial City. Li Su thought for a moment and finally agreed. A group of people walked directly around the city. For warriors, even if they are just postnatal warriors, there will be no physical burden to rush on the night road. In the city, Saint, the target character bypassed our city and headed straight for the Imperial City. A man wearing black clothes, who didn't look like a good person at first glance, knelt down on one knee and reported. Wasn't it that the Prince of Zhenbei is a playboy who can't bear the long journey and will definitely stop staying in the city for one night? Upon receiving such a result, the person known as the Virgin couldn't help but ask with some anger. The face of this saint was blocked by a veil, making it difficult to see her appearance clearly. However, judging from her beautiful figure alone, it is obvious that she is a beauty. Just wearing a blood-red dress makes it impossible to associate with the Virgin. If you really want to say it, the Demon Gate Fairy may be more appropriate. In fact, she is really a demon gate witch. Just in their eyes, I have always been a member of the Holy Gate. The so-called demon gate is just a false accusation by the righteous towards them. Your Highness. Is there a possibility that the Prince of Zhenbei doesn't like this city? Although the northern region is bitter cold, the development of Zhenbei Wangqing has been rapid in recent years, and its luxury level is much stronger than this city. The man in black lowered his head, his eyes twirled, and came up with a reason to say. There is some truth to what you said. So, according to your suggestion, where should we go to catch the Prince of Zhenbei? The demonic witch played with the things in her hand and asked questions. The Imperial City Beauty Pavilion. With the personality of the Prince of Zhenbei, I will definitely go there to play. We just need to wait for the person who wishes to take the bait. The man in black turned his mind and answered. What kind of place do you want this saint to go to? Upon hearing this, the demonic witch appeared somewhat annoyed. This so-called beauty pavilion is actually the place where Gulen listens to music. However, it is relatively high-end and belongs to a place that ordinary people cannot afford. I wanted to kick the man in black with a single kick, but after some thought, I decided not to reward him. Saint. Your enchanting ability has reached an extremely high level of accomplishment. Even if it's there, who can do anything to you? The man in black quickly continued speaking. What you said makes some sense, so you can decide on your own. A charming smile appeared on the face of the demonic witch, and her tone was filled with the unique charm of the demonic cult. Yes. Saint. The man in black suddenly became dazed and pulled out a dagger, directly stabbing it into his chest. When the pain spread throughout his body, he suddenly broke free from the temptation. Lift your head and look at the demonic witch with an incredulous expression. However, everything is already too late. I'm just trying to see if my charm technique is so strong. Now it seems that it's still far from enough. You cannot let yourself suffer without pain. Don't look at me like that. It's not good for me to gather intelligence, so I made this trip for nothing. You're already damn it. After finishing speaking, the demonic witch took steps and walked out. What she was playing with in her hand was a pair of black silk. I heard that this black silk was made by the Prince of Zhenbei, and it directly sold well throughout the Qian. Especially in the prosperous areas of the Central Plains, some wealthy people like to buy this thing. Still use this thing as a disposable item. This alone has earned a lot of silver for the prince's mansion in Zhenbei, let alone other things. This is also one of the reasons why Emperor de Qian wanted to marry the princess to Li Su and let him visit the imperial city. The king of Zhenbei is powerful, and the Zhenbei army is invincible. That's all. At the very least, I still want de Qian to be responsible for providing money and food. Holding on to the money and grain, de Qian stands firm in an invincible position. Surprisingly, this crown prince found a way to make a living for the Zhenbei prince's mansion. Sister Lu. Your Highness is actually a very good person. Do you have any misunderstandings about your Highness? Su Qian and Lu Yu are like riding a horse, and after a day, their relationship has also improved slightly. However, regarding Li Su's issue, Su Qian still firmly believes that the other party is a good person. Good person. Will Qian become a minor for His Highness in the future? Lu Yueru was already a bit numb and decided to take another path. She didn't think about breaking up Li Su and Su Qian, she just wanted to make Su Qian less naive. Good person. Good people always go to Manhualu. If His Highness is willing, Qian naturally will not refuse. But if your Highness doesn't like Qian, then Qian will continue to be a maid by His Highness's side. For Qian, being able to serve as a maid for His Highness is already very satisfying. Su Qian lowered her head and replied with a somewhat shy expression. It is obvious that Li Su's CPU is unclear. That's good. Do you know what your Highness likes? Lu Yueru continued to ask. I don't know. Su Qian instinctively shook her head, her face full of confusion. She really doesn't know what Li Su likes. I wanted to talk about supporting the little sister, but subconsciously she also knew something was wrong. Why does your highness only support beautiful young ladies, and the clothes they wear don't seem to be poor either? These are all researched by your highness, he will definitely like them. Lu Yueru said and took out a pair of black silk and a pair of white silk from the storage ring. For ordinary people, storage rings are an unattainable existence. For martial arts masters, it belongs to the basic configuration. How could you have this thing, Sister Lu? Su Qian took the black and white silk handed over by Lu Yueru, her face flickering with curiosity as she looked at Lu Yueru and asked. This. That. Was given to me by that stinky kid Li Su. But I usually wear armor and don't need it. So let's give it to you, this little girl. Faced with Su Qian's flat A, Lu Yueru directly handed over the majority. She was not good at lying, and when asked by Su Qian, she directly revealed the origins of black silk and white silk. The reason why she carries this black and white silk with her is because it was given by Li Su. Li Su said that after putting it on, it will look even better. Regarding this, Lu Yueru said a word that was not serious, but she also did not throw it away. But if she really wears it, she feels a bit embarrassed. She's a sister. Chapter 9. Entering the Imperial City, Power Gang. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Despite being a half father and half mother, Lu Yueru still couldn't save face. So, she carried the black and white silk all along. Does your highness really like this thing? Su Qian held this thing in her hand, with a flushed face. Looking at that, it seems like I really plan to wear it. You're hopeless. Lu Yueru shook her head, feeling a sense of blockage in her heart. She won't really wear this to meet that stinky kid Li Su, will she? But it's obviously too late to retrieve it now. After all, it was my own suggestion, so I can't take it back by myself. Li Su is naturally not clear about the conversation between the two women. At this moment, he is chatting with Zhang Lisher. The Empress has also seen the things made by His Highness the Crown Prince, and she said that His Highness is quite innovative. Zhang Lisher spoke up and praised. Really? This is just a coincidence. Li Su waved his hand, but in fact, he didn't have the ability to innovate. It's just a reward obtained from System.in. The production process of stockings, system improved version. Apart from black and white silk, there are also some other items. Just these two are the best selling products. The reason is simple. This thing is basically disposable. Your Highness the Crown Prince is humble. It's only in this world that martial arts are the most important. The Empress believes that the Crown Prince should still focus his main energy on cultivation. If you don't have enough strength, obtaining more wealth is just making wedding clothes for others. In the Imperial City, many people have had plans for the business of His Highness the Crown Prince. But they were all beaten back by the power of the Prince of Zhenbei and the warning of the Empress. Zhang Lisher's painting style suddenly changed and he started talking about what the Empress had said before. I see. In terms of cultivation, I will never relax. The reason for making money is simply because I want to earn some pocket money. After all, cultivation also requires sufficient cultivation resources. Poor cultivators may end up being just posthumous warriors for their entire lives. Li Su nodded, indicating that he understood. At first, the reason for selling these was actually just to satisfy one's personal hobbies. I didn't expect people from this other world to have such a good taste, and I really want to promote this thing in this other world. Even becoming a symbol of the wealthy. As for ordinary people in this world, they naturally do not have this idle money. With this spare money, come and use a few medicinal herbs to exercise your body and break through the next level of the acquired realm as soon as possible. Isn't it fragrant? Since His Highness the Crown Prince understands the importance of cultivation, the Empress must also be at ease. Zhang Lisher nodded and didn't say anything more. After all, the two of them have just met, and talking too much can easily get annoying. As for what Li Su said about making money for cultivating resources, he naturally wouldn't believe it. The only son of the North King in Tangtang Town, how could he lack cultivation resources? At the very least, there will never be a shortage of cultivation resources from being a martial artist to becoming a martial arts master. Except for eating and resting, the rest of the time is spent on the road. Finally arrived outside the Imperial city on the 5th day. System. Let's have a daily signature. Looking at the Imperial city in front of him, Li Su habitually silently spoke to the system in his heart. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully checking in on the day and obtaining a distribution map of the Imperial city. The distribution map of the Imperial city includes various places of great and small size, each of which is very detailed, including the Qian Imperial Palace. Useless things +1. Put it into system space to eat ash. Taking a casual glance at the items obtained through check.in, Li Su immediately inserted them into the system space. Over the course of 18 years, he has already checked in thousands of times. Not every item that has been checked in thousands of times is useful. For those that are temporarily unavailable, Li Su always chooses to put them in the system space. Maybe it will be useful at some point, just take it out again. Subconsciously, Li Su opened his personal panel and took a look. Name. Li Su, appearance. 99, identity. Crown Prince of Beiwang in Daqian Town, leader of the power gang, practice. Huangdi Neijing, martial arts. One sword flying immortal, flying thunder palm, 7 damage fist, cultivation. First rank martial arts master backpack. Grandmaster pill, stand-in doll, photo collection, kidney treasure, pistol, system product. Gun is fast and accurate beyond 7 steps, gun is fast and accurate within 7 steps. Li Su's cultivation method was chosen by himself, mainly attracted by the promotion of the method. It is claimed to be a cultivation technique practiced by the Yellow Emperor, but with 3,000, one can soar in the daytime. After systematic improvements, as long as one cultivates with others, they can achieve twice the result with half the effort. The stronger the cultivation object, the better the effect. Li Su naturally did not believe in such techniques. In order to expose the lies of his martial arts, Li Su decisively chose to cultivate the Yellow Emperor's inner cannon/manual dog head. The effect of the martial arts is indeed quite good, and Li Su said he can hit 10. You can also consider your own name. Zhenbei Wang. Does this mean giving you this name? In terms of martial arts, Li Su has many skills. There are both those obtained from the system and those obtained from the father, who is the king of Zhenbei. The level of martial arts skills varies, ranging from advanced to mediocre. As for the things in the backpack, there are more of those types. Power Gang. This is a faction built by the person Li Su asked to sign in and obtain. The person who signs in can choose a location to release it, not necessarily in front of themselves. So, as long as there is a check.in person, he will send it to the Power Gang. Mainly because I was still young at the time, it was not very useful to have it by my side. It's better to let them out. Being able to establish a career is naturally good. I can't do it myself without any losses. Li Su has been staying in northern Xinjiang all along. If it weren't for the system's products, he wouldn't be too confident if he had a 100% full value loyalty. Your Highness, the Crown Prince. The Imperial city has arrived. After we enter, we will first go to the mansion that His Highness has already arranged, and then meet the Empress. Zhang Lishir turned his head to look at Li Su and spoke up. After spending a few days together, my favorability has increased several points, and my relationship has become more familiar. Thank you very much, Grandpa Zhang. Li Su thanked Zhang Lishir upon hearing this. This is what our family should do. Zhang Lishir smiled and said that his initial favorability was due to the Empress's words, but now it's entirely because of Li Su himself. Many people look down on eunuchs like them, even if their cultivation is lower than him, they will also despise themselves in this regard. But in Li Su's eyes, he did not see any contempt or disdain. This alone makes him very comfortable. Go to the city. Li Su couldn't help but glance at the two women behind him, Su Qian and Lu Yueru. He felt that as he got closer to the imperial city, Su Qian's whole body seemed to become quite nervous. Li Su can also understand this. After all, it's my first time in the imperial city, and nervousness is inevitable. The reason why one is not nervous is because having a system has a trump card. If something really happens, you can also run away in time. Qian. There's still time for regret now. You actually don't need to wear this cheap item, Your Highness. Lu Yueru whispered beside Su Qian. A few days ago, the story of wearing black and white silk did not end. With so many cavalry guarding the side all the way, Su Qian naturally didn't have the courage to wear it. It is said that they will wait until they settle in the imperial city and privately show it to the crown prince. But didn't you say Your Highness likes it? As long as it's something Your Highness likes, I naturally have to do it. Su Qian answered confidently. Whatever you want. Lu Yueru rolled her eyes. Little girl, how persistent. For some reason, a picture couldn't help but emerge in her mind. Qian, Your Highness is tired, please help push it. Shaking her head, Lu Yueru put aside some strange ideas and followed the team into the imperial city. Even if you have completed half of your escort mission. Along the way, there were no ordinary people robbing the road. Mountain bandits and bandits, when they see hundreds of cavalry, their legs weaken and they dare not rob. Chapter 10. That girl is so cute. I really want to hug her young master. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator.